Welcome to the Faith-Based Christian Channel.
Jesus asked, "Can ye not discern the signs of the times?"
Subscribe to the Faith-Based Christian Channel today.
Okay, so when I see the word angel, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, right, it's probably something gentle. A beautiful person with a peaceful face, maybe some long flowing hair, and of course, a big pair of soft, white, feathery wings. It's an image we've seen literally 1,000 times. But here's the thing. If you actually push aside all that arts, all the pop culture, and you go straight to the source material, the Bible, that picture changes a lot. The gentle, approachable beings we imagine become something else entirely. What the texts actually describe are these terrifying, multi-faced creatures covered in eyes. They're powerful warriors, and their first words to any human are almost always, "Fear not." And believe me, there's a very, very good reason for that. So that leads us to the big question for this whole explainer, right? What do angels actually look like? The answer is way more complex, way more bizarre, and honestly, a whole lot more fascinating than you probably think. To really get it, you first have to understand that angels aren't just one big happy family. They're organized into this huge, complex structure. You can kind of think of it like a corporate ladder to the divine. And the general rule seems to be this. The closer an angel is to God's throne, the stranger and more terrifying it looks. So this is our roadmap. It's the most famous version of the angelic hierarchy, and it breaks them down into 3 tiers. We're going to start at the bottom with the ones closest to humanity, and then work our way up to the real heavy hitters, that first tier, the ones right there beside God. And this image, wow, it just perfectly captures the whole idea. Imagine just countless beings all arranged in these massive circles around a central, blinding light. That is the divine order we're about to explore, moving from those outer rings closer and closer to the center. All right, let's start with that third tier. These are the angels you're probably most familiar with from Sunday school or Bible stories. They're the ones who show up and talk to people the most. And their jobs are pretty much what you'd expect. The word angel itself literally just means messenger. So they deliver messages, they perform miracles, and yeah, sometimes they carry out God's judgment. Think of the angels at Sodom and Gomorrah. This group also has some big names, like the Archangel Michael, who's the commander of heaven's armies. They're definitely powerful, but their appearance is usually described as pretty human-like. But now, let's move to the inner circle. We're going to head right into the throne room, into that first tier, where we're going to meet the beings who serve directly in God's presence. And this, my friends, is where things get really, really weird. Right at the very top of the ladder are the Seraphim. Their name comes from a Hebrew word, seraph, which means to burn. They're called the burning ones, beings made of pure light and fire, and they stand closer to God than anyone. The prophet Isaiah actually saw them, and his description is just wild. He says each one had 6 wings, but look at how they use them. 2 to fly, sure, but 2 to cover their feet and 2 to cover their faces. So what's that all about? Well, it's packed with meaning. They cover their faces out of reverence, because not even the highest angels can handle looking directly at the full glory of God. They cover their feet as a sign of humility. And those other 2 wings, the ones they fly with, that just shows they're always ready, instantly, to do whatever God commands. And just in case a 6-winged, burning creature wasn't strange enough for you, the book of Revelation adds one more little detail. They are also, quote, full of eyes within. Just try to picture that for a second. Okay, next up, cherubim. And right off the bat, we have to clear up probably the biggest misconception about angels, period. You know the chubby winged babies you see everywhere? Valentine's Day cards, classical paintings? Those are called putti. They were a thing in Renaissance art, but they have absolutely nothing to do with biblical cherubim. So what did the prophet Ezekiel actually see? Get this, a living creature with 4 different faces, a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. It also had 4 wings and feet like a calf's hoof that glittered like bronze. Not so cute and cuddly now, is it? Now, those 4 faces aren't random. They're deeply symbolic. They're thought to represent the 4 major domains of God's creation. The lion, king of the wild animals, the ox, the strongest of the domestic animals, the eagle, ruler of the sky, and of course man, given dominion over it all. It's like all of creation, represented in one being, worshiping the Creator. And this old etching gives you a sense of just how complex and awe-inspiring that vision was. And remember, cherubim aren't just worshipers, they're guardians. In the book of Genesis, after Adam and Eve are kicked out of the garden, it's cherubim with a flaming sword who are put there to guard the way back. And finally, we get to what might be the most alien, the most bizarre of all the angels described in the Bible, the Ophanim. They're also called thrones, or more simply, the wheels. And that name is completely literal. The Hebrew word ophan means wheel. That's what they are. These beings are the living, spinning wheels of God's own heavenly chariot. The same prophet Ezekiel saw these too. And just listen to his description. He saw what looked like a wheel inside of another wheel that could move in any direction without ever turning. And the rims, he said, were high and awesome and were covered all the way around with eyes. So what's the deal with this crazy design? Well, it's pure theology in visual form. The wheels that can go anywhere without turning, that symbolizes God's omnipresence. He's everywhere at once. And all those eyes, that represents his omniscience. He sees and knows everything. Which brings us all the way back to that phrase. Over and over and over again, an angel shows up. And what's the first thing out of its mouth? Fear not. Be not afraid. Why is that their standard opening line? The answer, when you think about it, is pretty stark. It wasn't just a friendly greeting. It was a necessary intervention. I mean, imagine seeing one of these things, even a normal messenger, let alone a six-winged seraph for a spinning wheel covered in eyes. It would be an absolutely overwhelming, terrifying experience. Fear not was probably required just to keep the person from literally dying of shock. So the next time you picture an angel, maybe don't picture a gentle figure in a white robe. Instead, picture a being of such terrifying power and majesty that its very first instinct, its first priority upon meeting you, is to tell you not to be afraid. And that kind of leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. If these magnificent, awe-inspiring, terrifying beings are just the guardians, just the messengers and the attendants, what does that tell you about the sheer scale, the grandeur, and maybe even the terror of the ultimate reality they serve?
Subscribe to the Faith-Based Christian channel today, and let's grow our faith together in these last days. The King is at the door.